Hello and welcome to the Expat Property Portfolio Podcast. I'm your host, Callum Williamson, and today we are joined by Nathan Khider. He owns Nathan K Real Estate. He's been in property for over 20 years, building a portfolio, failing, starting again, coming back stronger. We talk about a whole heap of things, actually, not just property related, bit of business stuff as well. It's very interesting, from what you should do if you're just starting out, i.e. set your goals as always, good buying locations, and the sorts of things you should be doing now if you want to build a long-term sustainable portfolio. So jump in and I hope you enjoy. Tell me just a little bit about how did you get into property? Has it been a lifelong passion and ambition like some people, or did you fall into it like others? What's your sort of story?
Yeah, I think I fell into it. I would tell I'll tell an honest story though. When I was playing football when I was 15, I remember saying to somebody, I want to become a really big property developer one day, but not actually knowing what a property developer was at the age of 15. Just always wanted to get into property, but I didn't know how and I didn't know what it looked like, and it was always just a bit of a pipe dream. But when I got released from Luton Town Football Club when I was 16, nearly 17, my dad said, "Right, you need to go get a job." And I'm like, "Well, what am I going to do?" He's like, "I don't know, go get a job." So I had an interview, Foxtons. I went, right, best estate agents in London on the computer, on the PC at home, right? Best estate agents in London or biggest estate agents. And I came across Foxtons. And the rest is history. Joined Foxtons as a lettings negotiator, went into sales. Then I started searching on behalf of clients. Do you remember back in the day? So when Rightmove and Find a Property came to the market, if we'd get an inquiry in the office, we would bin all the online inquiries. We wouldn't take any of them seriously at all. And I
Yeah.
thought, if people can find properties online or at home or from their work instead of now going into the estate agent or picking up the phone, why don't I just do the searching for them? Because I can find them online. I can then go into the estate agents, build a relationship with these agents and say, look, I want to go view this, I want to go view that. And they took me seriously and we actually did very, very well. Then I worked for a chain of estate agents, small corporates, small independents, large corporates. And the rest is history. And I've been doing it since I was 17 and I'm now 41. So it's 23 years.
Look good for 41. I was going to ask
Uh,
you how old you were, because I think it's one of those things in property, isn't it? The sort of experience really does count, because you come across all these different sort of situations and all of that sort of stuff. So what happened? Why were you released from Luton? Were you sort of not good enough, or you got injured, or what
no,
was the...
no. Anyone that says they got injured is definitely not good enough. But I just
Yeah.
definitely wasn't good enough, right? I just wasn't good enough to play for Luton Town. So they just released me at the end of the game. We played Russian Diamonds, and they just said to me at the end of the game, his name was John Moore, and just said, "Nathan, you're just not good enough." And I was like, if I can't get into Luton Town, I'm probably not going to get into a big Premier League team. So I thought, I'll just go to work, and it's been the best thing.
Yeah, I guess it's good to know early though, because we had an ex-pro rugby player on here a couple of weeks ago, and we were sort of talking about the importance for athletes of planning for life after sport, right? Because you're sort of maybe 10 years playing your sport or less if you get injured, and then you're a long time old, and a lot of athletes don't plan properly. And one of the ways you can do that, right, is property. If you buy property when you're younger, you've got it then for life. Sorry to interrupt, but if you're enjoying this piece of content and would like to find out more about buying property and our key 10 steps to doing so, then pop your details in the link below somewhere and grab a copy of our book, 10 Steps to 10K, the Expat Property Playbook. Enjoy. So at what stage then did you set up your own business? Was that sort of after Foxtons or...
No, it was actually around 2005. I set up Click Search. It was called Click Investments, and it was a Click Search company basically. So it was the idea of we would find stuff for you quickly, efficiently, and you would pay us 1%. So it was a search agency, and I'd always done it for small investors. And I actually built a relationship with a client. Oh, it was about 2006. His name's Michael, and he's still a partner of mine now. And I bought so much for him, so much. He was literally, I had one or two clients, and they were my cash cows at the time, and did really, really well out of them, and bought a lot, and just carried on buying, but also working on the side as well. I was also working for estate agents. I learned so much from people in big agencies, and you listen to the branch managers, you listen to the sales directors, the valuers, you listen to the MDs of the company or the guys in the investment team, and you would pick up so much from them. And it wasn't until 2009 where I became a director of a traditional high street estate agents in Islington. But from that, I've always had small businesses. I've had an e-commerce business. I've opened gyms, coffee shops, pizza shops. you name it, the lot. I've invested in quite a few different businesses.
Serial entrepreneur or investor?
Can't I'd say investor. I hate that word, entrepreneur. Everyone's an entrepreneur. You sell shoes from your house, or you sell stuff on eBay, and you're an entrepreneur. And I just think it's just thrown around so easily. So I'll just say investor, small investor.
Yeah, nice. I was reading a book recently called Barista to Billionaire by a guy called Andrew Wilkinson, and sounds pretty similar. He started off working in a cafe and then started sort of buying little stakes in little businesses and has built it up from there. So I know we were talking just before we sort of got on about the different types of property you're looking for now, but at the time in sort of 2005, 2009, what sort of stuff were you looking for? And has the appetite changed for stock? Was it sort of one type of thing back then, and has it flipped more? Say, was it refurbs back then before stamp duty changes, and now is it something else? What are you sort of seeing with your finger on the pulse, I guess?
Yeah, I think, do you know what? Selling properties before 2007 was pretty easy. It really was.
Yeah.
There was just a pure wood curve. It's like, yeah, I've got something for you. Okay, I'll buy it. Property sales and purchases were just so easy to get done. Finance was obviously easy. We all know about what happened with the mortgage and the mortgage regulations coming in after that. Before 2007, property was just really easy. It was a cash cow for absolutely everybody. But after 2008, 2009, obviously things changed. I don't think the appetite's changed for property. I think there's a massive appetite for property. It all depends on what you're buying. I've always said to people, you always get a question like, oh, what should I buy? Where should I buy? What location? It's like, I don't know. It's like, it's all, for me, it's all about how well you buy at the time. And if I offered you an unbelievable 14% yield in Manchester, and it was a one-bedroom flat and it had a low service charge and it had a long lease, you're going to buy it if that's what you're looking for. So it all depends on what you're buying, how well you buy. There's a couple of key things. Is there a realistic rental yield? Is there a bit of capital appreciation? And if, the soft stuff hits the fan, would I be prepared to live there? And what I mean by that
Yeah.
is because I was homeless, you have to, if you're going to get into property, it's like, am I prepared to live in that property if worse came to, if everything came crashing down? Can I rent it out if I need to move, maybe get relocated, and will I get a realistic rental yield? And you know what? If things change and I have to move somewhere, or a family grow, or you meet a girl, you get married, you have a kid, could I make a bit of money when I sell it?
Yeah.
Really, really simple things to look for. And it all depends. People say, oh, where's the next place to buy? I've got no idea. Like, you can follow the trends, and you can follow where big corporate companies are moving to, right? So you can go to Manchester, you go to Birmingham, go to Luton. But with this now working from home scenario, how many times do you need to be there?
Yeah.
How many times do you need to be in the office? I honestly think that will come back. I think people will end up going back to work, back to the offices a bit more, because corporate corporate offices not going to stop not stop being built. Companies are always going to want to have that team ethos and culture and working together, because I think it's good for people.
It's in the paper. I was reading this morning actually that I don't know. It's is it Goldman Sachs? Is it Goldman Sachs or J.P. Morgan? One of the two. They've set a deadline for everyone full time back in the office. I think some other big tech companies, Google, has done the same, and so it is really coming back. I think the quote from, it's probably not the JP Morgan guy, but he said, you're either in the office full time or you find another job, So I think you're right there. And I think another thing you're right about is it's the silver bullet, isn't it? Everyone's looking for that sort of that magic property that's going to blow the doors off. And in reality, if you do the basics and buy well with fundamentals, if you're buying for the long term anyway, it's going to be fine, isn't it? And I think
Yeah.
that's important for people to realize, is that it doesn't need to be perfect.
No, it doesn't. But I think people, you can imagine, I get a lot of people saying, "Oh, Nathan, I want to invest. What do I do? I just want to buy a property." But why do you want to buy a property? What's the reason for it? Do you think right now you want long-term growth where you're going to have multiple properties? Or I don't know. Do you want something where you can buy and sell really quickly? Or I don't know. People don't know why they want to buy it. They just see it now as this this cash cow of ways of making loads of money. But it's not as simple as that. We buy stuff and we lose, and you've got to take that risk. My clients, they've bought properties the last sort of five, from 2017. They're going to take negative equity. They're at the minus. They're selling less than what they bought it for. So it doesn't always work in your favor. So you've got to be prepared to lose. But that's why I said, is there a realistic rental yield if I need to move out of it, I can't afford it, I lose my job? Am I prepared to live there if I maybe lose my job, I can't afford the property that I'm living in at the moment? And is there a bit of capital appreciation? So I think it's about what you buy.
And I think that's more important. Yeah, more important than ever now. With sort of higher entry costs and all of this sort of stuff, especially past 24 months or more with higher interest rates. You have got to be. I think sort of the days of the one-off accidental landlord are sort of over, perhaps, and it's more about the sort of being a professional, doing it via a limited company, having clear goals, because that's another. I mean, people will see a common theme. We've got a book called the Expat Property Playbook. I was told to hold that up, so and it's 10 steps, right? But the first 5 steps are all about goal setting, because it's so easy, right? If you can create crystal clear goals and overlay that the resources you've got to get there, are you cash rich, cash poor, time rich, time poor? With that information, it's really easy to say, okay, well, I've got 50 grand, I've got no time, so therefore I need to work with someone to do it, and I need to buy in a location that I can afford to buy with 50 grand. So yeah, I agree with you there. Your clients then, so you were Click, and then is it the same now, or?
No, it's just Nathan K. It's just Nathan K. Real Estate. I just thought, I didn't want a high street agent. I just wanted. So how long ago was it? I was an investor of an online brokerage where sort of like the Keller Williams model and the EXP model, same sort of thing, and it's still open today, and I'm still a shareholder. And we fell out, not for bad reason, but we just fell out on different ways of moving forward. And I had an office on my street. We had a traditional estate agents on my street. And I really enjoyed just being out of the office. And I thought I would love another office just for me to work in. The shop next door came available, and I thought I'll take it. But all of a sudden, it's turned into one of the area's leading estate agents in EC1 and
Yeah.
WC1X. I am in a, we are a traditional estate agents, but we act more so for the sellers that are buying. And what I mean by that is, so the most people that are selling with us, they're also buying through us. So we act as their search agent. So we're almost that
Yeah,
one-stop
okay.
shop for people selling and buying. So see, but people say, Nathan, we haven't got the time to go and find something, but we need to sell our property in Islington or Clerkenwell or wherever it might be, and then I can go find them the next property. I find them whether it's an investment, their home, whatever it might be. So yeah, just Nathan K Real Estate.
Yeah, I was going to say, what sort of stuff are people buying? Is it investment or more homes, or is it sort of a mix of both?
Yeah, there's a lot of people. I see to a lot of homes at the moment, but we're also buying a lot of investments. So the people that we're selling for, they tend to be, trading up effectively or trading sideways sometimes, depending on what they're doing. So maybe they want, their family's growing, but they can't afford to stay in the area, so they'll maybe go slightly further north, east. Definitely not west because that's more expensive. But so sometimes people are just trading upwards or sideways. Haven't seen many people trading down unless they're older and they're just downsizing in the area. Again, we're acting a lot on behalf of our investors. We're actively going out there trying to find a lot. What we're looking for at the moment is unbroken freeholds. So maybe shops and uppers, pubs with flats above, because pubs are closing all the time. So getting them converted back is
Yeah.
actually easier than it used to be. So the pubs used to have a community. I can't remember what it was called off the top of my head, but something where it's based in because it's for the community, they won't change it back. But because they're constantly closing, and they're not sustainable anymore. We're looking for pubs with flats above, convert it into resi and get them out. But we could look for anything. We've got so many investors where they'll buy anything with a half decent, if someone's looking for a quick return in and out, we'll find them something. If someone's looking for a good rental yield, we'll find them something. There is a lot out there. It's just hard to find.
Yeah, and it's sort of figuring out what is decent and what is not. But I think the pub thing is interesting. I was watching Clarkson's Farm, as you do, and I think they brought up the stats for the amount of pubs that are closing, because he's trying to open a pub, isn't he? Or maybe he has, I don't know. But they're bringing up the stats for the amount of pubs per 1,000 people in the UK. In sort of early 2000s, it was over 100 pubs per 1,000 people, and now it's down to 50 or 60, I think.
Wow.
So why the unbroken freehold? Is that because then you can control it and, as you say, turn it back into flats and then make a development profit on it? Or
Yeah, turn it back into flats, extend it, maybe go up and, add another floor, which is obviously quite common as well. Something that we'd love to do is great value there. Don't need to buy any more land, you effectively just build up. So yeah, unbroken, where you've just got more control. You can put in good systems and operations, put in good management companies to look after the block, and just provide really good homes for people, because there is a lack of properties for people to buy. We know that there has been for a long time. So providing good homes for people, with good soundproofing as well. We see so many developers, and the work that they do is so bad. So the developers that I work with, where we convert freeholds into residential units, they do a really, really good job. And they put good systems in place and good management companies in place, and do give sensible leases. So yeah, it's just doing good work like that is also really rewarding.
Yeah, because I was going to ask then. Yeah, where do you have your own sort of internal building team, or do you work with set contractors? But I guess you've got a sort of sounds like you've got a team of reliable contractors that you would call in depending on the job.
Reliable, I don't know, but definitely, yeah, people that we've used for a long time. Um,
Yeah,
but
never
no,
mind.
it just,
Trustworthy at least.
but this is the thing that we go back to. So we're seeing a lot more. So let's say the families, for instance, and young, affluent sort of first time buyers buying £1 to £2 million. A lot of them are buying turnkey properties because they just don't want, they don't want to do the work. They're worried about the costs. They're worried the cost, so you've got to buy the property, then you've got to move out of it for 6 months and live somewhere else. Then you've got to find a good contractor and make sure they're trustworthy and get the job done. Don't go over budget, which it always does. So people are now buying good turnkey properties, and I see a massive premium for good turnkey properties going in London.
Yeah, and turnkey is, for those people that don't know, is basically complete and ready to go, right?
Yep.
Or have I got that wrong?
Yeah, no,
Imagine
absolutely.
that.
Bring your clothes, put them in the wardrobe, and you're good to go. Like literally everything. It's normally spotless. So like it's normally in a really. The thing is, okay, you can change a lick of paint, you can change the colours and bits and pieces, but turnkey is basically where you just bring your clothes on completion day and enjoy your life.
Are you at a stage now where you've got your sort of businesses are keeping you going? Have you stopped buying property, or do you still buy property yourselves, and are you still building a portfolio?
I actually got out of the investing in small companies. It was just taking up so much of my time.
Okay, gotcha.
And I focus on what I'm really good at. I think you just got to, what everyone keeps saying, and I've said it for years, just stay in your lane. If there's something that you know really well, and if you enjoy it or enjoy the rewards that you get from it, then stick to it and go for it. Because since I've put all my time into property, I've noticed a huge change in stress levels for myself. I know my job, I know what I'm doing. And the rewards from it, if you're good at it, you enjoy it, and you know how to be a bit successful in it, it's a win-win. So I've stopped investing in small businesses because it's just taken up too much of my time and too stressful. But what I have started doing is just focusing just on property. I do like to buy myself. Me and my partners, we buy, and we're quite aggressive. We buy a lot. And people might say, well, where do you buy? So 12, 15 years ago, before COVID, we'd love an auction. And then it's all gone online. And now you've got all the
Yeah.
end users. Like you can find a great deal at an auction. You can read the room. You can see who's there, see who's going to put their hand up, who's got the cash in their pocket ready to buy. And you'll find good deals in there. Now, you don't know who's at the back on the end of the computer. And, you've got mum and dad going, yeah, buy it, buy it,
Yeah.
buy it. And, it's just like the property price in auction. I go mad. Like I'm thinking, if you're an investor, how are you going to make any money out of that? I see a lot of end users buying in auction at the moment. A lot. Yeah, we still look for investments, good deals, anything that needs loads and loads of work. We love that. The stuff that people don't want to do.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we sort of see it quite a lot because everyone, it's the sort of Homes Under, is it Homes Under the Hammer with that guy? And, people would, yeah, it was Homes Under the Hammer. That guy would go and buy a house in the valleys for £5,000, and then his team would come in and they'd do it up and he'd sell it for 40,000. And I think if you're from the UK, you were brought up watching that because there's about 20 seasons, right? And I think that's ingrained into us is, buy a doer upper. But I think people overlook the amount of work and stress and knowledge it takes to be able to do, and network as well, to be able
Of
to do
course.
something like that.
I mean, look, most people want to get into that. If you ask the average investor or a new investor or a young guy or young girl and they say, I want to get into property, that's what they want to do. That's what they think they want to do. And I'd always say, look, go and buy somewhere out of town where it's completely affordable. Go and buy it run down, have it as your home so you've got no capital appreciation. And look, if your work changes location, and you can always call your mortgage provider or your lender and say, look, I'm moving. Can I convert this into a buy to let? And a lot of times they will. So I would always say to somebody that start low. Just because you've got 60 grand as a deposit, it doesn't mean you have to spend it all. Like, don't be silly. You don't need to
Yeah,
do
you
that. Like,
shouldn't. Yeah.
no, like people just want to over leverage themselves so much. Like, I speak to people and they say, I say, what's your budget? And they're like 2 million quid. I'm like, well, what's your max limit? And they say 2 million. I was like, well, why are you talking about spending it? Why don't you look at something like one and a quarter, one and a half? Why is everyone wanting to leverage themselves to the max? You don't need to do it. Like, get your feet under the table, learn first, and then go from there.
That's it. It's a, I don't, maybe it's a reflection of society today, instant gratification and whatever. But I think it is a, certainly with property, the longer term lens and the more time you take. I guess you were probably the same by the sounds of it. When I was a younger man, I was very aggressive, and you have these big goals, to do X amount of properties by X age, and then you as you mature a little bit, you realise, well, actually, maybe that's not the best approach. Maybe I should be a bit more methodical with it, and still be aggressive, but be intelligent with it, and don't strike out.
Well, I don't know if you know, but in 2005 I was homeless, and it was because I'd over leveraged, overspent. Got repossessed on two properties. Never made bankrupt, which was great, but I got my two homes were repossessed and everything was gone, and ended up living in the YMCA for
Yeah.
6 months. And that was the best lesson I ever learned, because it taught me not to over leverage myself, not to go in too deep, and to do things at my own pace and not care about what people think. It doesn't matter what your opinion is of me. That's not important. What matters is when I go to sleep, what the opinion of myself is. How do I feel about myself? How comfortable am I within my own skin? And I think the problem with social media and the outside influence is just so much pressure. You've got to go to be successful. You've got to win every time. No, make as many mistakes as you can. Lose on properties.
That's where you learn the most lessons, right?
Oh my
That sort
God.
of becoming homeless is a lesson that you never want to learn again, right? And
If you're winning all the time, you're doing something wrong.
yeah, or you're not reaching far enough. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah,
You can't win all the time. You can't get to that place that you want to get to if you're constantly winning, because either you're not winning enough, or you clearly haven't learned any mistakes. Because it's people say, oh, you learn from others' mistakes. Yeah, you can to an extent, but also you have to feel you have to understand what that feels like to learn. You have to understand what it feels like to lose. So then you go into the next one, and it's like, okay, I know that, no brainer, and then you can make a decision really quick as well. You can make decisions really quick because you understand it a lot better.
I agree, and that's sort of we're talking about this, earlier, staying in your lane. It takes a long time to become knowledgeable and good at something, and if you're sort of diversifying your attention into lots of different things all the time, then you're never going to become very, very good at something. And whether you work in property like we do, or you're an investor in property, don't sort of lose interest and switch between different things: crypto, property, stocks and shares. It's a long term play, right?
Do
So
not mention. Do not
I've got
mention
one.
crypto.
No, I don't want to talk about it. I lost a lot of money doing that. Um,
Good.
the
That's
classic,
your lesson, right? That's your lesson.
yeah. No, and that was 100%. It was being younger, and you're sort of looking for these quick fixes, and buying Bitcoin. When I was 13. I bought some Iraqi dinar because someone told me that the Americans were going to revalue it and peg it to the dollar, and so I bought 50,000 dinars or something for 50 quid, and I was going to have 20,000 quid in my bank at 13, and I don't even know where the dinar are now because they're worth nothing or not much. So you've take your time. It's a long game, isn't it?
Is
I've got a closing question for you. So I know we've discussed it briefly maybe, but if you're brand new to property, you're starting out, and someone comes and says to you, I want to buy a property, obviously you've got to get your goals right. But what would your advice be to said person that says, right, I want to get started in property, I'm brand new, what should I do?
okay. I hear this question all the time. But the question is, what is it that you want to buy the property for? That's the key thing to me. So people will be asking that question to you. I want to buy a property, but you need to ask the question back. What is it that you're buying for? So if they say, my goal is to buy high yielding flats or high yielding properties, I would go towards the HMO route. I'd go towards student accommodation. I'd go towards outside of town, like Manchester, Liverpool, Leeds. I'd go to I'll go to those high yielding cities where the rents are good, student accommodation, it's guaranteed by their parents because you'll have a guarantor. So you're guaranteed to get your money back. So if it's that, I'd stick to that. If you're looking to buy something for a bit of a yield, a bit of a capital appreciation, make a bit of money, I'll try and find something in the auction potentially. I'll try and speak to local agents in the area that you want to buy and just say to them, I only want stuff that needs a bit of work. Make that your home. Don't over leverage. Move into it, fix it up yourself, learn how to do it, learn a bit of the trade, learn what it takes to get a property compliant and ready to sell, and then sell it. Like, it's so vague. Like, it's so, I get that question all the time. What should I do? I think you need to ask the question about what is the plan and what's the reason for you to buy that property? Ask yourself that question and then come and ask me. And then once you know that answer, then come and ask me and I'll find it for you.
Yeah, I think that's it. Is take it a step further as well, though. It's not, I want high yield. Well, why do you want high yield? Because that's going to give you the most income so you can quit your job.
Yeah.
Or, why do you want the appreciation? So you
Yep.
can buy something bigger and scale it.
Correct.
But solid advice, and I think on that bombshell, we should leave it here.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Nathan.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much for listening or watching, depending on how you consume that. We've also set up a new YouTube channel for this podcast where we're going to host all the videos and start doing more videos. If you want to find out more straight away, then pop your details in below and get a copy of our book, 10 Steps to 10K, the Expat Property Playbook. See you next week.